welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. I guess the communist takeover of the Democrat Party is now in full swing. I don't want to say it's complete yet because completion would be winning the United States House of Representatives and the Senate with communist/socialist candidates. But after what happened last night in Michigan with this Abdul El Sayed winning, you had another candidate. I mean, they're all over the place. They're winning. And this will go two ways. I'm going to say something that really doesn't take a rocket scientist to tell you. This is either going to bode really well for Republicans or we've lost our country more than we know. If we lose to these lunatics, we are slowly losing our grip on America, on freedom, on liberty, on what this country was built on the ideals of capitalism, on entrepreneurship, a go-getter mentality. It's slowly slipping away from us. So, which is why I need all of you to fight till the end. And I mean fight like you've never fought before. Which brings us to James Talarico. The Democrats know, and the Muslims know, that if you take Texas, the United States falls. If the Democrats were to turn Texas blue, I'm not sure Republicans could win a nationwide election ever again. Democrats know that. They've offered up this James Talarico. He's a radical. He claims to be a pastor, but he's twisted scripture to somehow endorse abortion. We know that's a fallacy. He is all for men playing in women's sports, and he is all for most other socialist policies, including a war on cops. But I saw this exchange at a town hall he held. I think it may have been yesterday, actually. He needs the black vote to win in Texas. Right now, he's not doing well with blacks. They don't like gay white men. I'm just going to be clear and frank with you. Black folks don't like gay white men. Now, he says he's not gay, but I think he is. And at the very least, he's a beta male extraordinaire. I mean, he's about as beta as it gets. Remember, this is a guy who is trying to go Texas cosplay. He rents a pickup truck. He's so dumb that it comes back as a rented truck. So he doesn't own a pickup truck. He doesn't own a cowboy hat. He's a little wuss bag, James Talarico. But this exchange he had with a black woman who is very, very angry about life tells us two things: where the electorate is and some of the black folks that just hate white people, and what candidates like Talarico will do to pander to those people. So we're going to talk about that today. Before we do, I want to tell you about my friends over at Lost Soldier Oil and Gas. Tomorrow night on the Real America's Voice show, the CEO is going to be interviewed by me, explaining the benefits of why, if you're an accredited investor and you're looking for a place to put your money, that Lost Soldier could be it. There are tax advantages thanks to President Trump's one big beautiful bill that are out of control. I mean, like the best you can imagine. There are royalties and overriding royalties. In the oil and gas business, when you talk about royalties, that's where generational wealth is built. And then there's stock ownership in Lost Soldier. They've entered into a strategic partnership with Stallion Ridge that's going to decrease some of the expenses. And I think in the end, increase production. You've got to talk to them about it, but there's some real value here. So lostsoldier.com is where I want you to go. Click on the Invest Now button. Someone will get right back to you. Talk to them. Ask them questions. They're very transparent. I think you'll be impressed. LostSoldier.com. That's LostSoldier.com. All right, with that, let's get the show started.
Uncensored and unapologetic. This is Stinchfield. Here's your host, Grant Stinchfield.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Welcome. James Talarico is a radical socialist, phony, fake fraud of a pastor. When you use scripture to try to justify abortion, you know you have twisted the word of God. And he keeps coming back to scripture, and he keeps getting it confused. So this interaction that he had with a young woman, I believe this is in the Dallas area, is an indication of how far the Democrat Party has slipped How they would embrace a guy like this, I don't know. But it also tells you what you need to know about some of the Democrat voters here and just how much they hate cops, they hate white people, they feel oppressed, the victim mentality. I'm going to tell you, the victim mentality will destroy you. You cannot play the victim. But that's exactly what so many do. It's a little longer. I'm going to start and stop it. We'll break it down as we go. But this was part of that town hall that Talarico had.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Amanda Meredith. I'm a veteran of the U.S. Navy.
Hey. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm from South Eau Claire. My question is, since I've been back since 2017, I have noticed the over-policing in our neighborhoods, especially during Juneteenth. I myself was attending an event in Lancaster, and our event was closed down 2 hours prior to it actually ending. We were doing nothing. We were just having a very joyous occasion, and yet we were told to leave without even giving a proper explanation. Ever since that Trump had ended the investigations into civil rights investigations, police investigations, the craziness in this country has gotten worse. Our people have getting killed left and right. Karmelo Anthony's case is just a tragedy. Excuse my language. But it is. So what are we going to do to fix?
Now, hold on a second. There's a lot to break down there, and I think James Talarico's reaction there, he's nodding his head yes. Karmelo Anthony's case is a tragedy. Karmelo Anthony, to remind all of you folks, was the black high school athlete who walks over to an opposing team's tent in the stands in Frisco, Texas. Austin Metcalf, a white kid, says you can't sit here. This is the other team. Leads to a bit of an altercation, and Karmelo Anthony pulls out a knife and stabs Austin Metcalf in the heart. Austin Metcalf basically dies right there in the stands. What's a tragedy about Karmelo Anthony going to prison? And James Talarico, how dare you pander to that crowd by saying, yes, it's a tragedy. That young man took a knife out of his backpack and plunged it into another man's heart. The entire case is a tragedy. It's a tragedy that young black men resort to violence as quick as they do. But what is this woman talking about ever since Trump took office and did away with civil rights investigations? He has a civil rights division led by Harmeet Dillon. He's still conducting civil rights investigations. And what do you mean your people are getting killed all over the place? That just is not true. It doesn't add up. The facts are not there. There's been no increase in black folks being killed at the hands of police officers. And in fact, black folks make up such a small portion of the population and account for most of the encounters with police. Those are just facts. So again, she's been sold a bill of goods that fits her narrative real well, but isn't based in facts. Let's listen.
Those harms. There should be no reason why I can't go to a cookout and enjoy myself amongst my people. I have more trauma from living here, coming back here, than I did when I was in Bahrain, Kuwait, Afghanistan. And this is...
So she has more trauma living in the United States than she did in Afghanistan and Bahrain. Now, I know there's plenty of black folks that will laugh at her. Say, what are you talking about? We have more blacks in Congress than we've ever had in history. We have more black CEOs in America than we've ever had in history. We know that black folks have literally taken over professional sports. What do you mean oppressed? There's more black millionaires than there ever have been in history. And yet this idea of the party in Lancaster, I'd love to know what the circumstances surrounding it were. Was it overly crowded? Was it an unsanctioned event? Was it on public property? Was it someone's house? Was there noise complaints? Was it getting out of control? I mean, I'm sure there's a story behind it, but she doesn't want to tell that.
That's the anxiety. That's what I was most worried about. I came back here because my family is here for my son so he can get to know them. But that was what am I going to be like now when I'm driving around? Am I going to get harassed by the police and state troopers? And it has got to stop.
Thank you. Thank you for your question, and thank you for your service.
I agree. Thank you for your service. I'm not sure I'd give her a thank you for the question. You're worried about getting pulled over and will you be harassed? Well, why would you be harassed if you're not doing anything wrong? And two, if you are pulled over, for some reason you were racially profiled. And I've told you the story over and over again. I was racially profiled in a neighborhood not far from where she lives. I was driving my Escalade, driving a black employee back to his house in the hood. And they pulled us over for rolling a stop sign. I said, officer, what's happening? Well, you better believe they were pulling me over to see if I was the rich white guy coming in the Escalade to buy drugs in the hood. And quite frankly, I don't even mind they pulled me over. You know why? Because that's a problem, rich white guys driving into the hood to buy their drugs. You think grandmas and grandpas and moms want that with their kids around? Just a drug pipeline? No. So the Dallas Police Department was doing their best to shut it down. So I don't know what she's talking about, but here's the thing. I wasn't hauled out of the car. Neither was the black employee next to me. We were respectful. I rolled down the window. I put my hands on the steering wheel. I answered the questions in a calm, truthful manner. And we go on down the road. Nothing happens. You show your hands and obey commands, nothing will ever happen to you.
This is unacceptable. I was proud to march in Dr. Opal Lee's Walk for Freedom in Fort Worth for Juneteenth. It was one of the most beautiful celebrations I've participated in the whole campaign. So many Texans showing up, black, white, and brown, all together, marching for justice, marching for progress, marching for freedom. It was a joyous, beautiful thing to see. And I'm so sorry that law enforcement felt the need to shut down a joyous festival for you in this community.
Do you have any knowledge whether it was a joyous festival or not, other than the word of the woman who just told you? Have you gotten the side of the police, James Talarico? You literally side with the, quote, oppressed because it suits your political narrative. But you don't know anything about that party. I don't know anything about that party. Now, if I was there, my answer to her is, hey, if I'm United States Senator, I'll look into this for you. I want to hear both sides. I want to gather the facts. And if the police did something wrong, we'll get to the bottom of it. If they didn't, well, then let the facts fly where they may. But you don't instantly take the side of an accuser, slam the cops when you don't even have any clue of what happened. That's who James Talarico is. He's a pandering little pussy. Sorry to say the word, but that's what he is.
It is unacceptable. Law enforcement is here to serve us. It is here to protect us. And too often, we see law enforcement weaponized against black and brown communities in this state. We have a deeply broken justice system. We have a deeply broken approach to policing. And we'll just, and I do.
All right, really? So I get the justice system is not perfect, but it's the best system in the world. It is not perfect. Do we have a deeply flawed and troubled system with cops? I don't think so. What was it he said here? How did he say it?
Weaponized against black and brown communities in this state. We have a deeply broken justice system. We have a deeply broken approach to policing.
Cops have been weaponized against black and brown people in this state. Really? Where were they weaponized? The only place cops are being weaponized is if they flood the high crime zones and arrest prolific criminals. So it's weaponized against crime, but not the innocent. And I would think the innocent want the high offenders, the multiple offenders, taken off the streets. But Talarico can't say that because he's got to pander to these woke leftists.
And we'll just, and I do want to just mention this. I was in Houston last night, and we had a prayer vigil for Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, who was murdered by ICE on the streets of Houston. Our immigrant community is also facing a similar threat from being over-policed. Every resource going after construction workers like Lorenzo Salgado is a resource that's not going after folks who are actually committing crimes. And
now, let's go through this. Lorenzo Salgado, who was so-called murdered by ICE agents. The allegation is he tried to run an ICE agent over with his car. The ICE agent fired at him. Again, whether he meant to hit the agent, whether he was fleeing, the agent felt in danger. Don't run from the police. Don't run from ICE agents. Obey the commands and you'll be here. But here's what's so disingenuous about James Talarico's speech here. He doesn't tell you the circumstances surrounding Lorenzo Salgado Araujo, which is that he tried to run over an ICE agent. This was in early July. Left his family's home early in the morning. Picked up coworkers, drove to a construction site. ICE officers pursued him. This is the one where they said, hey, we're going to stop traffic stops, that ICE said. One SUV followed Salgado's van and turned into a Canal Street, while another SUV, according to the United States Department of Homeland Security, Salgado evaded the traffic stop while being pursued by ICE officers. Allegedly, three of the co-workers in the van were arrested. And in the end, Salgado tries to drive away and let's see. Ram the van before shooting fire. Yeah, he tries to get away. They're worried that he's going to run them over, and ICE agents shoot. So he ought to be truthful when he spews bullcorn like this.
so we have to get back to a place where police, where law enforcement, where ICE, where they are actually fighting for public safety, not fighting our communities. And I think that if we win this race in November, we will build the political will to take federal action to ensure that law enforcement is actually protecting and serving all of us, not just some of us. All you got to do is open up your...
Really? So you're going to take federal action to ensure that law enforcement is protecting and serving. I already think law enforcement protects and serves. What are you going to do from a federal level? See, it's all just lip service. There was not a solution. I'm going to introduce a law that says, bop, bop, bop. No. We're just going to take action to make sure everything is rosy and you live under rainbows. They don't have solutions. And then look at this snake oil salesman bullcorn.
Phone, turn on a TV, and you're flooded with bad news. We've talked about some of these things that are happening to Black Texans, things that are happening to our communities. And like me...
Listen carefully. They start music behind him. Remember, he is a preacher. This guy's a scam artist is what he is.
Many of you, I am tempted by hopelessness. And I want to share it with you as a gift, whether you're religious or not.
People are leaving. Do you see this? He's going to Scripture, and now he's going to give a piece of Scripture that he's totally misconstrued, because I would say what Jesus is talking about, well, here, I'll just let him say it, and then we'll go to it.
It's in the Gospel of Luke. As you watch...
You see what a scam artist this guy is? Do you know what the verse is? I pulled it up. Blessed are those who weep now, for you will laugh, conveys God. This is a promise of comfort and future joy for those who are suffering or grieving. Blessed are those who weep now, for you will laugh. Well, I can tell you, I'm weeping watching this crap. I'm weeping watching radical communists win races to represent the Democrats in big-time races across the country, like this El Sayed in Michigan. Yeah, that makes me weep. Now, in some respects, God is right, for you will laugh. Maybe that's when Mike Rogers in Michigan whoops El Sayed's ass. Maybe that's when Talarico gets his ass whooped by Ken Paxton. But right now, I do weep for America. But the Lord says we will laugh. So I'll take your little preacher man sermon, Talarico, but I'm going to flip it on its head and say we're weeping because of you and the cronies like you. People will fall for this bullcrap. They will. People will fall for this. Oh, he's such a nice man. Look at the little nice man. Meanwhile, I'm sure he's got some kind of sexual fantasies that preacher men never talk about. Who knows what? He's totally baited to the core. I told you I think he's gay. Lying about it is even worse. Can you imagine what his wife is going through? How's he going to protect anybody? Remember I told you the definition of a man is someone who makes everyone around them just a little bit safer. And you think Talarico makes anyone around him just a little bit safer? You know what else is the definition of a man? Is someone who is comfortable enough to wear stupid glasses like these. That's the definition of a man. Oh, I don't know why I grabbed these glasses, but I don't know. I could really care less about my glasses. What I care more about is what I should say, is making sure we save this great country of ours and making sure that we do it and we do it together. Now, let me tell you about my friends over at Patriot Mobile. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. Use the promo code GRANT for a free month's service. This is about being part of something special. We know Patriot Mobile is Stinchfield's Army official cell phone service provider. We got that. But you want to be with a company that dubs itself America's only wireless provider that is Christian and conservative. America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. That's Patriot Mobile. 100% U.S.-based customer service. Switching, they'll make you a deal to switch, so it's not going to cost you money there. You can choose what network you want to be on. Performance guarantee like none other. Every reason in the book says you should switch to Patriot Mobile, and yet you still haven't switched. Do I need to come out there and shake you? Switch. PatriotMobile.com/Grant. Use that promo code GRANT for a free month. All right, so we know socialists are a big problem. This big tent party that they claim to have. Mamdani is part of the problem. He's in New York. He's become basically a voice of the Democrat Socialists of America, maybe the main voice, maybe the leader of that party. He's another one. He's a slick talker, like a snake oil salesman. He's also a terrorist sympathizer is being nice. I think he actually supports the terror being waged against the Western world at the hands of Muslims. So 9/11 survivors don't want him at the 9/11 memorial. Now, he's the mayor of New York. It's a huge event. But we know how he feels about these terrorists. We know he sympathizes with them. We know he hates the Western world. I wouldn't want him there either. In fact, he doesn't have any business being there. But do you think he cares about what the victims want? 60,000 people signed a petition on change.org to say, hey, Mamdani, don't show up.
A number of people who are survivors of 9/11 are calling on you not to go to 9/11 memorial services. I wonder how you feel about the fact that they're trying to keep you away.
I will proudly honor the families, the survivors, the first responders forever impacted by that horrific terror attack by standing alongside them at this year's 9/11 commemoration, reaffirming that we will never forget the solemn day felt by all of us who who call this city home, and frankly, by all of us who call this country home.
What an asshole. You know that you are aligned with the way these jihadists think. You know that, Mamdani, and the world knows that. You support Hamas openly. You call for a global intifada. And yet you're going to go stand side by side by victims of the 9/11 massacre? Come on, man. I was one of the first reporters to get to Ground Zero. I was working for WNBC that day. And when I mean Ground Zero, I mean Ground Zero, the pile, the rubble. I got there, I don't know, it was late that night. The sun had already gone down. The towers had fallen. I was the first reporter to actually get all the way down. And what I saw was hell. Leading up to that, what I saw were the faces of absolute fear, covered in that horrific dust, fleeing fallen towers. And I said to myself, I don't ever want to see those faces again. It was terror on their faces. Have you ever looked at someone who had absolute terror on their face? It's jarring. I said I never want to see that again, which is why if I had my way, we'd eradicate every single terrorist off the face of the planet. Now Mamdani's going to show up in New York. President Trump's a New Yorker, remember. What did he have to say about it?
We're coming up on the 25th anniversary of 9/11, and a good number of 9/11 families have called on New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani to not attend a number of these memorial services. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think they're having a hard time with Mamdani. The people having to do with anybody having to do with 9/11 right now, on the victim side, and there are a lot of them, they're very unhappy with what's going on in New York, and they're very unhappy with the mayor. I understand.
I mean, of course. They flew those planes into those buildings because they hated everything America is about. And Mamdani feels the same way as those terrorists. He hates America and everything this country is about. He's openly against communists. He's openly against capitalism. He's an openly vowed socialist. It's just not American. So when you embrace the ideology of terrorists, I think people that are victims of terrorists don't want you near them. Listen to this.
I want to use this moment to speak to the Muslims of New York City. I want to speak to the memory of my aunt, who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab. Growing up in the shadow of 9/11, I have known what it means to live with an undercurrent of suspicion. I will always remember the disdain I faced, the way my name could immediately become Muhammad.
You see why they don't want him there? First off, let's talk about his aunt. It's been proven his aunt didn't even live in New York City. That was a total fabrication and a lie, and he was busted. There was no evidence that his aunt was in New York City after 9/11 and would have had no reason to be on a subway because they're not there. So he made that up. And then he's more concerned about the backlash he's getting after fellow Muslims flew planes into towers than he is about the real victims of that terror attack. That's who Mamdani is right there. So it's no wonder they don't want him there. Because he's awful. Absolutely awful.
I want to use this moment to speak to the Muslims of New York City.
This is it. Longer version.
I want to speak to the memory of my aunt, who stopped taking the subway after September 11th because she did not feel safe in her hijab.
You know who else stopped taking the subway after September 11th? 3,000 New Yorkers who died at the hands of terrorists. They never took the subway again either, and your aunt wasn't even in New York. I'm glad I played it again. And he manages to cry. It shows you what a phony, fake fraud this guy really is. So, it's trouble, him. Mamdani the commie is what they call him. Listen to this.
This is a 911 moment for the Democratic Party in the sense that he's an anti-Semitic socialist. I think you have to throw both of those things at him because he has really not disavowed the global influence.
So this is a former Clinton advisor. Okay? Clinton advisor.
He has not really disavowed his comments that we should seize the means of production. He is perhaps the most extreme major candidate ever to win such a major office. And the system itself, the primary system, has been hijacked. There normally would have been a runoff, which would have then exposed his views rather than his smiling through the primaries. But I think that it's absolutely essential here that this not become Mandami versus Trump. That's his strategy. If he can get rid of the idea that there are two other candidates or maybe one other candidate opposing him and he's running against Trump, well, he'll win that one.
So again, the Americans that embrace this are so blind to what's happening that all they're focused on is that it's anti-Trump. That may work in a primary. It's not going to work in a general election. Not in a close state. It'll work, in California, New York, these crazy states. It's not going to work in a close state. Michigan, maybe Mike Rogers. I don't think it's been 1994 since Michigan has had a Republican senator. I think that's the number. Maybe Mike Rogers can pull it out. I just got a text message from a friend of mine. And my neighbor writes that her uncle just texted her, big Stinchfield's Army guy. I just got this. If you get the chance, ask Stinchfield what he would think about organizing a countrywide boycott of New York City, or at least in all the red states. If tourism was cut back, attendance to sporting events was canceled, and items manufactured there were not bought, it would be possible they would kick Mandami out. All of us in flyover country tend to think we have no control over what happens in the crazy blue states, but we could send a message by withholding our dollars which support them. Let me know what you think about it, and if you think that this is crazy. Well, I don't think that's crazy at all. What he's saying is, if we had a nationwide boycott of New York City, it's basically what President Trump has done to Cuba. Cut Cuba off. We have a countrywide boycott of Cuba. We've blocked them off. They're going to wither on the vine without us. My friend's uncle wants to do that. Now, here's the only reason why I don't think it will work. Boycotts typically don't work in America because people say they follow them, but they really don't. So somebody will say, well, yeah, I'm never going to go to a Giants game. And they live in Green Bay, and the Packers are going to the Giants. They get a call from a client that says, hey, I've got tickets to Giants-Packers at Giant Stadium in New York. You want to go? And the next thing you know, now, even though Giant Stadium's not in New York, but you get what I'm saying. Let's go. They go. People will say they boycott, but they don't actually boycott. I love the effort. I mean, it could be worth a try. You'd have to get a lot of people on board, the marketing behind it. I mean, we could push it, obviously, on Real America's Voice. We get some of our fellow conservative commentators to get on board with this. It's a maybe for me. It's a maybe. In the end, I think New Yorkers need to take care of themselves. And I think New Yorkers need to wake up. And those that realize New York will never wake up, well, then you have to vote with your feet and you have to leave. Kathy Hochul is running for governor again. She's up for re-election. This Bruce Blakeman is a Republican. He's running against her. Last polling I saw, he was 4 points behind in New York. My buddy Andrew Giuliani, I think, almost could have won that race. So you got, and then Lee Zeldin, right? And he would have been great. But you've got this Bruce Blakeman 4 points behind Kathy Hochul. Electricity rates under Hochul are up 58%. This was because of her crazy climate zealotry. Rate hikes 38 times under Kathy Hochul. The cost of living is out of control everywhere. Property taxes are up. Income taxes are up. Everything. Maybe New Yorkers will wake up, and if they don't wake up, they have to leave. This is what I had said in California when I was doing radio out there, that they have to. All right? So listen, New Yorkers, it's up to you. The boycott's not a bad idea, though. I'm going to sit on it. It's a big maybe for me. I love the idea, though. I love the idea if we could get people motivated enough. I just typically have seen that boycotts typically don't work. Though it worked for Bud Light, didn't it? But I guess the marketing was so good for the boycott that if you were seen drinking Bud Light, you were looked at as a transgender lunatic. What construction workers are going to be drinking Bud Light if they're being aligned with a tranny? So who knows? Maybe. I'm a maybe, all right? All right, so that is Mom Donnie there. Now, this is Mom Donnie talking about his grocery stores. Now, remember, they're going to open up 5 New York City-run grocery stores. They're going to cut retail prices by 30%, which means the margins aren't even 30% on groceries. So you're going to be subsidizing buying it and selling it. You're going to be losing money. These grocery stores are going to be losing money from the very start. Who's going to pay for that? Taxpayers. Okay? Now, how do you stop? Can you imagine how much you're going to lose when poor New Jerseyans come in? Or from Westchester County. Not that there's very many poor people in Westchester County, but there's a few. The rich people aren't going to go in. They're not going to drive in there just to save 30% on their groceries. It's not going to be a problem for them. But poor people might make the trek in. How are you going to stop that from happening? You ask for ID. Prove to me you live in the city. That makes sense. This is what happened at a recent press conference just a couple days ago.
How are you going to keep people from taking advantage of that, that deal, basically? And is there going to be a limit on the number of items that someone can take that are discounted at that level from that essential basket?
So our RFP makes very clear that this is a program for New Yorkers to be able to put food on the table, not a program for people to be able to make a quick buck through reselling. I'm going to pass it over to our EDC head, G-Pack, to add some additional details.
Yes, if you look at our RFP for the operator, we are looking to make sure that we target New Yorkers, whether it be at sort of a library card-esque, and also we manage who's buying, and that is focused on everyday New Yorkers. So we are mindful of that, and so we're going to make sure that we have all the things in place to ensure that that does not happen.
Library card-esque. That's an ID. So to stop people who don't live in New York from buying groceries at city-run grocery stores, you're going to show ID. Just as you would ask for ID to stop people who don't live in New York from voting in elections for New Yorkers. But you're not going to ask for ID in either place, so you know it's ripe for fraud. So Mamdani comes out after he gets lambasted for this. And I mean lambasted. And this is what he says.
And we're talking about a city-run grocery store, one in each borough, which, by the way, you do not need an ID to shop at, no matter what you've just heard in the news of today. We're talking about actually addressing the question of skyrocketing grocery.
But wait a second. You do need an ID. She just literally said it. She just said you need an ID.
If you look at our RFP for the operator, we are looking to make sure that we target New Yorkers, whether it be at sort of a library card-esque, and also we manage who's buying, and it's
a library card-esque thing. So what are you talking about, Mom Donnie? You backtrack because you realize you look like a total hypocrite. No ID for elections, but we'll have IDs to buy my groceries. Oh, wait, that didn't work because now we look stupid. And wait, we were telling everybody the poor people can't get IDs, but now we're going to make them go get a New York City library card type ID? Do you believe what I'm seeing and hearing? It's craziness. Absolute craziness. Do we even bother hearing what Maury has to say?
We've seen in the last 6 or 7 years alone an increase in grocery prices of around 30%. And we are going to be delivering a city-run grocery store, 1 in each borough, 5 in total, that will have the staples of a shopping experience, an essential basket of goods that are...
Oh, shut up. You know, I honestly think that when they said this RFP, request for proposal, you know what you're going to see? You're going to see big grocery store chains come in and say, we can run your grocery store for you. This is what you got to pay us. You're going to subsidize all the food costs. We're going to just take a management fee. They're going to make so much money, these grocery stores. They're going to make more money than they were just regular selling groceries at a discount because it's going to be all taxpayer dollars. There's going to be no accountability. They don't have to provide a good service because you're not going to have a choice of where you can shop unless you want to pay 30% more. The bodega shop owners on every corner near these grocery stores are going to go out of business. This is a disgustingly awful idea. It really is. Do you guys agree with me? I mean, I would hope that you would. It's awful. Here's Ted. Let me do this. Let me first tell you about the wellness company, and then we'll talk about this whole idea of a big tent and Chuck Schumer literally embracing these ideas. So here's what we know. twc.health/grant. That's the website to the wellness company. A whole slew of supplements that will keep you and your family healthy. There's this product called Shield, which builds your immune system like no other product I have ever seen. I have now been taking this product Shield for the last 6 months, and I've yet to even have a sniffle, which is pretty good. Shield is the name of the product. All right, twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT. I've told you about the other product that I use daily. This is TheraBlue. It is a peptide-based gel that deeply penetrates joints and muscles to ease pain. I use it daily as a preventative on my hip. Fabulous. Ultimate Spike Detox. If you want to get the spike protein out of your system, Ultimate Spike Detox can do it, formulated by Dr. McCullough. These are the types of products you get at the wellness company. I would urge you, just peruse the website, twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off. And then, of course, the wellness company's prescription medication kits. These are super important. You got to have these in your home to keep you and your family safe. twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT for 10% off. All right, now to Chuck Schumer and his lunacy.
And Manu.
Thank you. Is the rise of the DSA good for your party?
Look, we are a big tent party, and being a big tent party is a strength, not a weakness.
We've talked about this. Do you think welcoming in anti-American communists into your party is a strength, not a weakness? Now think about Chuck Schumer. He put his hand on a Bible, I assume, or put his hand on a Torah, whatever it may have been. But he raised his hand in the halls of the United States Capitol, and he took an oath to uphold the principles of the Constitution of the United States of America. He took an oath to God to defend the Constitution of America. And yet he's welcoming in socialists, communists, whose platform is to destroy the Constitution. If your oath is to defend it, you can't welcome destroyers in as your friends. It's disgustingly destructive. It's disgustingly anti-American. And it tells you everything you need to know. Chuck Schumer is willing to break his word, an oath to God. Ted Cruz was asked about all this.
Why is Schumer so tight-lipped? All I hear is big tent, and then they run. Why?
Yeah. Because they are utterly terrified. Chuck Schumer cannot win a primary in the Democrat Party. He spent the last several years terrified that AOC was going to primary him. I think the inaugural member of the AOC for President Committee will be Chuck Schumer. He's telling her, Alexandra, you're much too important for the Senate. The White House is the place for you. But I'll tell you, Jesse, I predicted already Mondami, I believe, is going to primary Schumer. Schumer may not even run. I think Mondami will be the next senator from New York. That is where all of the energy in the Democrat primary is. And other than John Fetterman, and it's a case of John Fetterman being the lone exception and showing that all of the rest of his colleagues, they're just terrified because every one of them is afraid of one of these lunatics primarying them as well.
Senator Mamdani? Probably. Why not president? Look, if you're going to put somebody up to run as president, Mamdani's a better choice than AOC. I'm talking if you're a radical. AOC's dumb. Mamdani ain't dumb. He's not. He's slick on his feet. He's well-spoken. Don't get me wrong. He's a radical. His ideas are wrong all over the place. But he's slick. He's like Gavin Newsom slick. AOC's not. AOC can't win the presidency. Why would you stop at Senate then, Mamdani? Why would you go right for the Oval Office? Can you imagine what this country would be like with Mamdani in the Oval Office? My Lord. I hope Ted Cruz is wrong on this one. That off he goes. Now, I saw this. This is Bernie Sanders' press person on with Piers Morgan, and she refuses to answer his questions. This is what I mean when I'm telling you these socialists, these communists have infiltrated the halls of Congress.
It's very interesting, your interpretation of what defund means. As Joe Walsh rightly says, the actual interpretation of defund the police or defund the Pentagon or whatever it may be is you get rid of that institution and you replace it with something else. What you're talking,
English peers, this is why.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. So I'm asking you whether you mean a decrease in the amount that you fund these organizations with, or do you believe in abolishing them? Would you abolish the police? Would you abolish the Pentagon? Would you abolish prisons? Yes, no, yes, no, yes,
If you want to know what me, Brianna, enjoy great things, you can come on my show and we can debate my views at length. But I think what the viewers want to know is
answer
what
my
the
questions.
DSA
That's why you're here.
believe. No, why we're here is
That's
to
why you're
discuss
here.
the DSA candidates and people who are running for office, not one 40-year-old woman sitting in her apartment in Washington, D.C. So if you want to talk about what the movements to defund the Pentagon are about,
can you answer my questions, please?
Wait, it's about asking the question of whether or not we should continuously increase funding an unprecedentedly high military budget year after
That's
year
not what
to
defund
an
means.
institution that literally fails its audits and can't even account for where the money is going.
Brianna, defund means no
think the
money
Pentagon
for,
should be
period.
funded more. I'm sorry,
no
Joe?
money for.
Defund means you abolish it.
No,
Would
those
you
are two different
Let me
words.
try
It's
one
very
more
interesting,
time.
Piers, that you
Let me
use
try.
two different words there.
Let me try one more time. Let me try one more time, given you don't know what defund actually means.
Oh, I know what
right?
defund
Because
means a
we've just
lot
checked
better than you do, Piers, as evidenced by the fact that you chose to pivot to abolish, because you can discern a distinct difference between those two terms. Defunding, just like when Republicans say they want to defund the Department of Education, they want to defund things day and night. The whole point of
When Republicans say they want to defund the Department of Education, it means they want to abolish it. I'm in that camp. Do away with the Department of Education. There is literally no need for it at a federal level. Education should be handled, I believe, at a local level, a level smaller than the state level. But you have a state board of education. They oversee the local municipalities, but you don't need the federal government involved in public education. It's ridiculous. So, yes, when we say defund the Department of Education, we mean it. We mean do away with it. How does something survive if it doesn't have any money to work on? But these are the people that President Trump is warning about today.
I think it's crazy because they're going to ruin our country. They want to, I don't know if they want to. I think either they're very naive or they actually want to ruin the country. No matter where you look, go back 1,000 years with different names, anybody doing what they're doing and what they're espousing, everything turns out to ashes and junk and filth. You know, one thing I said the other day for the first time ever, never thought of it, but you go to these cities that are taken over by the socialists and the communists, they're always filthy dirty, they're disgusting, they're always dirty, and, you know, I'm a clean person, and people I know are clean, they like that, and you are, I know you very well, you're very clean, but they're, aside from crime, aside from all of the other problems, no jobs, no anything, no money, they're always filthy, disgusting, dirty. And that's what you'll get.
It's true. Go woke, go broke. Socialism and communism is woke on steroids, man. Woke on steroids. Nobody puts it like President Trump does. He really does a good job of doing that. Now, President Trump also talked about this assassination. Well, we think an assassination attempt on his life. Outside of his golf course in California, where he's set to be there in just days, somebody was casing the joint. They get found with all kinds of a cache of weapons. Janine John is the guy's first name. Janine? I mean, it's crazy. He responded this morning about this threat that he constantly faces.
There was a threat. There was a man who was arrested, seemed to be heavily armed near the property here on Sunday. It's an ongoing concern, sir. Talk about that for briefly if we can.
Well, the only thing I get a little solace from is they say only consequential presidents. And I am definitely consequential. I mean, if you look at the economy, if you look at what's happening, Iran, as an example, will never have a nuclear weapon. They already can't, but it's going to be formal. The strait's going to be open very soon, or they're going to get hit very hard, and then the strait's going to be open. And we were going to a tremendous attack, the biggest since World War II. And they called me and said, very politely, please, can we talk? Can we talk? They didn't.
So what he's saying is, because he's a consequential president, he's more than that. He's an upender. He's a rabble-rouser. He's a destroyer of the good old boy system. He's a destroyer of the deep state. Now, is he far enough along where I want him to be? No, but not at fault of President Trump's. It's because they're dug in like you wouldn't believe. These are cockroaches. They're very difficult to destroy. But President Trump is changing Washington in the face of Washington as we know it, and they hate him. They hate him for his embrace of freedom, and they want him dead. And I'm telling you right now, President Trump is in more danger than he's ever been at any point in his career. Starting from the first assassination attempt all the way till now, the threats have increased. The danger has increased. Please, Secret Service, watch over this man. I believe he is guarded by angels. But I'm a religious man. Well, I'm a faithful man. I don't go to church every Sunday. I like church, but I don't go every Sunday. I'll admit that to you. But I'm a very faithful man. I wouldn't just trust that guardian angels will watch over him. God gives us free will. Free will tells us we've got to take matters into our own hands and protect this man with everything we've got. They want him dead. All right. With that, folks, I want to remind you, you can get your Stinchfield's Army merchandise. Protect you and your family. Defend America. Protect this great country of ours. Do you like those shirts? They come in different colors, too. I would urge you to check them out. GrantStinchfield.com. Right there on the homepage, you could just click on the merchandise link. It'll take you right to the store. Defend America. Lots of different shirts on there at GrantStinchfield.com. That's GrantStinchfield.com. Show your support for Stinchfield's Army for America and trigger the left a little bit while doing it. That's going to do it for us today, folks. Thank you so much for watching. As I mentioned, GrantStinchfield.com. Stinchfield's Army rolls because of all of you. We'll see you on the Real America's Voice show tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Thanks for watching, everybody.